it's Erica from Maniacal Reader, and this is my May wrap-up. I definitely had a good reading month in May. I read a total of 8 books this month, and I'm in the middle of reading my 9th one. I've got a lot of books to tell you guys about, so let's get started. One of the first books I read in May was Unearthly by Cynthia Hand. This is a YA paranormal fantasy trilogy, and it follows this girl named Clara, who discovers that she's part angel and part human, and she is known as an angel blood. She realizes that her mom is a half angel, which is known as a Dimidus, and her father is a normal human. This makes Clara a quarter angel, also known as a Quartarius. Clara's life revolves around something called a purpose, and this purpose relocates her all the way from California, where she has grown up, to a new city of Jackson Hole, Wyoming. She meets new friends at Jackson Hole High, like a girl named Wendy, a boy named Tucker, who is the twin brother of Wendy, a guy named Christian Prescott, and another girl named Angela. There are a lot of twists and turns in this trilogy. Clara discovers that her friend Angela is an angel blood, and that she is a Dimidus, like Clara's mother. There's some animosity between Clara and Tucker in this book, but near the middle of the book and towards the end of the book, they develop a romance. Clara's friend Wendy is a human, and throughout this book and throughout the trilogy, Clara has different visions that revolve around her purpose and a lot of unexpected twists and turns. The first book is Unearthly, the second book is Hallowed, and the third book is Boundless. I'm not going to talk much about this trilogy because I've already filmed a full discussion on this trilogy, which I'll link below, along with my written reviews. The next book I want to talk about is If I Stay by Gail Forman. This is the first book in the If I Stay duology. This is a YA romance / realistic fiction series. In this book we meet a girl named Mia. Mia has a great family, an adorable boyfriend, and a bright future filled with music and choices. But one day, all of this is taken away from her when Mia has a traffic accident. As a result of the car crash that Mia experienced, this lands her in a coma, and the book is mostly a reflective book. Not a lot of action or story happens in this book, but this first book is a chance to give readers insight as to how Mia feels about the different relationships in her life, particularly her relationship with her boyfriend named Adam. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars because there was a lot of great characterization in this book. Even though I loved this book emotionally, I would have wanted a little bit more action and story in this book. The following book is Where She Went. This is the second and final book in the If I Stay series. In this book, we do have a lot more story and action, and this book is actually told from 2 points of view. Mia's perspective, as well as her boyfriend Adam's. This book shows what happened after Mia has awoken from her coma, and through flashbacks, and what is happening in the characters' lives 5 or 6 years down the road. Adam has achieved his dream of being a rock star, but that life isn't all of what he imagined it to be. Mia went to Juilliard, and she now plays as a cellist in New York City. They are living separate lives because Mia dumped Adam 3 years ago. There are a lot of unresolved issues in this book and a lot of things that they need to work through. I enjoyed seeing the emotional turmoil of the characters in this book, and really their biggest problem all has to do with a promise that Adam made to Mia 3 years ago. He promised her that if she stayed alive and if she survived the accident, he would let her go and allow her to live a free life on her own. The thing is, Adam has still been carrying a torch for Mia all these years. And right now, Adam is struggling with his life as a rock star and struggling to be a part of his band and is struggling to make peace with the past. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars because I thought it was absolutely amazing. And I thought that even though I enjoyed the emotional reflectiveness of If I Stay, which I loved, I enjoyed where she went a lot more because it showed what actually happened to the characters post the accident, and there was more relationship drama and a lot more story going on. I loved the back and forth of their romance and how things were resolved. This was my first Gail Forman read, and I can definitely tell you I'll be reading more of her books in the future. I can't wait. The next book I want to show you is Falling Into Place by Amy Zhang. This is a YA realistic fiction novel, and it's about this girl named Liz Emerson, who one day after learning about Newton's laws of physics in her physics class, she decides to test his theory and throw her car off a bridge and commit suicide. I gave this book 2 out of 5 stars because I didn't really like it that much. The book is told from an unnamed narrator point of view who claims that he or she knows all about Liz Emerson's life and her relationships with her family and friends. But strangely, the character is never revealed in this book at all, and that's something I found quite puzzling, something that I found hard to wrap my mind around. Liz basically has a douchebag of a boyfriend and friends named Kenny, who is a pregnant cheerleader who decides to have a boyfriend, and a friend named Julia, who is a closet stoner and buys drugs from her drug dealer from the mall. I didn't really enjoy learning about Liz Emerson's family. Liz has 2 parents, and we did learn a little bit about her childhood and the reason why Liz has such a complex relationship with her mom. There was this scene where Liz as a child bumped her knee or scraped her knee. Liz's mom put a band-aid on her knee and she offered to hug Liz, but Liz pulled away because she wanted to be tough. And since that incident, Liz's mom has never showed any affection for her in the future, and I was like, are you for serious? What kind of mother doesn't show her daughter any affection of any kind and is confused about what to do as a parent? The fact that this book gives no explanation for that at all completely floored me. Also, I didn't connect with any of the characters in the book. No character really stood out for me. Sure, this book had a fast pace and showed different times leading up to Liz's suicide, but Nothing really stood out to me in this book, and it was really a drab and boring debut novel from this Amy Zhang. The main character ends up surviving, but there was really no explanation as to why or how he survived, and the novel just sort of ended flat there with no explanations, no backstory at all, and it was just a really crappy novel. I'll definitely not read this book in the future. This was definitely a waste of my time. Good thing it was a short novel. Another book that I read in May is 1984 by George Orwell. This book follows a main character named Winston Smith, and he lives in a totalitarian society run by the government called the Party, and this book talks about just how this totalitarian society operates and the different things that the Party does to control the society, his romantic relationship with a girl named Julia, and his eventual torture by a character named O'Brien in the book. I'm not going to talk much about this book since I've already filmed a full review of this book. The last and final book that I read in May most recently is Pushing the Limits by Katie McGarry. This book is about a girl named Echo Emerson who went from being a popular girl in school to being a social reject with no friends. Echo had a brother named Aries who died in Iraq a few years ago. Echo lives in a family with a controlling father who doesn't really agree with the things that Echo likes, such as art, and he doesn't really understand his daughter in general. Echo's parents are divorced, and years ago, Echo's father married Echo and her brother Aries' old babysitter. Echo is 16. That makes her babysitter only 12 years older than her, from what I guessed. They are now married and expecting a child. Aries' death flipped Echo's world upside down, and it still does. On top of this, Echo's mom tried to kill her one night, and she can't remember a thing about it. She also has these weird scars on her arm, which she can't place. While all of this dislike and stress is going on in her life, she meets Noah Hutchins. Noah Hutchins is a loner and stoner boy with a bad reputation. It seems that Echo and Noah would form the unlikeliest connection, but they do. Noah's problems are that he's a foster kid who's now living in foster care because his parents died in a house fire a year ago. Noah has two brothers who are also living in foster care, but Noah doesn't trust his brother's foster parents. Noah also wishes to take care of his brothers after he graduates from high school and become their legal guardian. Before Echo's life fell apart, she was with this old boyfriend named Luke. Even though Echo's life has fallen apart since she's returned to school, her friends try to convince her just to act normal and try to convince her to go back to her normal life before everything happened. This obviously doesn't work, and she has flashbacks of the night her mother tried to kill her. I enjoyed the romance between Echo and Noah in this book, and just hearing more of her stories and where they've come from now that they've suffered huge trauma in their lives. This book is definitely filled with some romance and just more about the backstories of their characters, where they've come from and where they are now. There is all the books that I read in May. I hope you enjoyed this wrap up, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!